There comes a moment in life when you pause and realize that the way you treat yourself doesn't quite match the care and love you wish you had received when you were younger. Maybe you notice it in the way you speak to yourself in quiet moments, or in how easily you push down your needs to keep moving forward. Maybe you feel it in the tightness of your chest when someone asks how you're really doing, and you struggle to find the words. Deep down, you might carry the sense that something was missing in your early years, something gentle, something safe. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And when we think about our own childhoods, this truth becomes clear. Accepting ourselves fully means looking not only at who we've become, but also at the tender, younger version of us who might still be waiting to feel loved. You see, childhood is where we first learn what love feels like, what safety feels like, and what it means to belong. When those experiences are absent or inconsistent, the child within us adapts. That child may learn to hide their feelings, to work harder than anyone else, or to shrink themselves to fit what was expected. And while those strategies might have helped us survive the past, they often leave us with wounds that still shape us today. The good news, the beautiful truth, is that even if your childhood wasn't gentle, it is not too late to begin again with yourself. You can learn to give yourself the love, safety, and encouragement you once longed for. This is what it means to reparent yourself. It's not about blaming the past. It's not about rewriting history. It's about choosing to meet yourself in the present with kindness and care, becoming the parent your younger self always needed. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like if the way you spoke to yourself was patient and encouraging, instead of critical and harsh. Imagine waking up each day and feeling that no matter what happens, you can rely on yourself to be steady and kind. That is the heart of reparenting. It's the process of creating a new inner relationship, one where you no longer abandon yourself when life gets difficult, but instead stand firmly beside yourself as both caretaker and companion. Jung often wrote about individuation, the journey of becoming whole. He reminded us that wholeness isn't about perfection. It's about reclaiming all the parts of ourselves we left behind. And for many of us, that means turning back toward the child we once were, the one who wanted to be heard, the one who wanted to be seen, the one who still lives within us, waiting for our compassion. This journey isn't always easy. Meeting the inner child can stir feelings we've pushed away for years. Sadness, anger, or even longing may rise to the surface. But here's the truth. Those feelings are not signs of weakness. They are signs that the child within you trusts you enough to finally speak. Reparenting is the act of listening to that voice and saying, I will not turn away this time. And so, as we move through this conversation together, I invite you to soften into this possibility. That no matter what your childhood was like, no matter how many years have passed, you can begin today. You can create an inner home where you feel safe, cared for, and valued. As Jung once wrote, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Reparenting is a way of choosing who you will become. It's the act of no longer waiting for someone else to give you what you need, but learning to give it to yourself, steadily, gently, and with love. So let us begin this journey. Let us explore together what it means to reparent yourself, to care for your inner child, and to discover that it is never too late to give yourself the love you missed. Chapter 1: Meeting the Inner Child. Before we can begin healing, we have to meet the part of ourselves that has been waiting for attention for decades, the inner child. This is the part of you that remembers everything. It remembers the joy, the curiosity, and the wonder. But it also remembers the moments when you felt unseen, unheard, or unsafe. It carries both your earliest happiness and your earliest wounds. And often, it's the part of yourself you've been unconsciously protecting by avoiding it altogether. Meeting your inner child doesn't mean trying to change the past or pretend your experiences didn't happen. It doesn't mean blaming anyone or holding on to guilt. It means acknowledging that part of yourself with openness and compassion. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And the inner child is exactly the part we fear accepting because it feels so raw and vulnerable. It's the part of you that says, I needed love and safety and didn't always get it. You might notice that when you think about your inner child, feelings of sadness, anger, or longing come up. That's completely normal. Those feelings are not signs that you're broken. They are signs that this child is still alive inside you and is finally trying to be heard. The first step in reparenting is simply turning toward that voice and saying, I see you. I hear you. You are safe now. Many of us spend our lives running from that part of ourselves. We bury it under productivity, perfectionism, or distraction. But the inner child has a way of showing up whether we're ready or not. It shows up as self-criticism, self-doubt, or anxiety. It shows up when we feel disconnected, lonely, or unworthy. every time we react strongly to something small. It might be that inner child signaling that a wound needs attention. Meeting the inner child also means understanding its needs. Children need 3 essential things: to feel safe, to feel loved, and to feel heard. If any of these were missing in your early life, that child is still waiting for them. You can start by imagining yourself sitting with that child. Picture them clearly. What do they look like? What are they feeling? What do they want from you right now? Allow yourself to sit with those questions without judgment. This is not a quick exercise. It's a process of noticing, listening, and creating a space for that child to exist fully within you. When you practice meeting your inner child, you are also practicing self-compassion. You are learning to treat yourself as a human being who deserves care, not as someone who needs to be fixed. Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." By acknowledging your inner child, you are taking your first step toward choosing a new path. A path where your unmet needs are finally seen and addressed. Over time, meeting your inner child becomes less about imagining and more about integrating. It means that in your daily life, when you feel fear, sadness, or doubt, you respond to yourself with gentleness instead of judgment. You offer reassurance instead of criticism. You allow yourself to feel your emotions without pushing them away. And slowly, that child who has been waiting for so long begins to trust that you are here and that you will not abandon them again. Meeting your inner child is not a single event. It is a lifelong practice. It is a quiet commitment each day to notice yourself, listen to yourself, and offer yourself what you needed long ago. And as you do, you will find that many of the patterns that have controlled you begin to shift. The anxiety, the self-doubt, the self-criticism. All of these are softened when the inner child feels safe, loved, and heard. So today, take a deep breath and allow yourself to meet the little one inside you. Let them know they are not forgotten. Let them know they are safe. Let them know that at last they have a caretaker who will not leave them behind. This is the first essential step in reparenting yourself, and it is the moment when real healing begins. Chapter 2. The Wounds of Ungentle Childhoods. To understand why reparenting yourself is so important, we have to look closely at the wounds left by an ungentle childhood. These are the moments, big or small, where the care, attention, or protection you needed simply wasn't there. Maybe you grew up in a household where love was conditional, where affection had to be earned, and emotions were seen as inconvenient or even wrong. Maybe your needs were dismissed, minimized, or overlooked entirely. Or perhaps there were times when you felt unsafe, unheard, or abandoned. Whatever the specifics, the effects of these experiences run deep, often far beyond what we realize. Carl Jung taught us that the psyche remembers everything, even what the conscious mind forgets. What we resist persists, he wrote, and that's true of childhood wounds. When needs go unmet or feelings are invalidated, those experiences don't disappear. They live in the unconscious, quietly shaping the way you respond to life as an adult. They show up in ways that may feel automatic: self-doubt, fear of failure, difficulty trusting others, perfectionism, or an inner voice that constantly criticizes you. The wounds of an ungentle childhood often center around three basic human needs: safety, love, and validation. If these were inconsistent or absent, it leaves a lasting imprint. A child who was not made to feel safe might grow into an adult who is anxious or hypervigilant, constantly bracing for danger, even when none exists. A child who did not feel fully loved may grow into an adult who seeks constant external approval, fearing rejection at every turn. And a child whose feelings were ignored may become an adult who struggles to identify or express emotions, sometimes even feeling disconnected from themselves. These wounds can also manifest in patterns that feel familiar, yet frustrating. You might notice yourself repeatedly in situations that trigger old pain, reacting as if you are still that vulnerable child. You might find it hard to set boundaries or speak up for yourself, or perhaps you feel like you have to overcompensate for the lack of support you experienced. Jung reminds us that the parts of ourselves we repress, the parts that felt unsafe, ashamed, or unloved, don't disappear. They return, often in the form of behavior, habits, or emotions that feel confusing or self-sabotaging. It's important to recognize that these wounds are not your fault. The child you once were did not choose these experiences. You were learning to survive in the only ways available to you at the time. But now, as an adult, you have the opportunity to return to that child, not to relive the pain, but to provide what was missing. Reparenting yourself is about meeting these wounds with compassion, understanding, and care. It is about finally offering safety, love, and validation from within, where it was missing before. Sometimes the pain from childhood doesn't show up as dramatic or obvious trauma. Often it is subtle, quiet, and insidious. A lingering sense of not being good enough. A voice in your head that doubts your worth, a hesitation to take risks or to fully trust yourself. These are echoes of unmet childhood needs, and they are signals, gentle reminders that your inner child is still waiting to be noticed, nurtured, and comforted. Acknowledging these wounds is not easy. It can feel heavy, uncomfortable, and even frightening. But it is also necessary. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. If we ignore these early wounds, they continue to shape our choices, relationships, and self-perception. But by bringing them into awareness, we begin to take back the power that was lost. We begin to reclaim ourselves. The wounds of an ungentle childhood are not something to erase or forget. They are part of your story, and part of the reason you have the capacity for deep compassion and empathy today. But they are also a call to action. They are an invitation to reparent yourself, to offer to your inner child what was missing: a safe space, unconditional love, and the freedom to simply exist without fear or judgment. So as we move forward, remember this: these wounds are real, but they do not have to control you any longer. They are the reason this work matters so deeply. They are the reason you can transform your life by learning to care for yourself in the way you always deserved. By facing the pain of the past with courage and compassion, you lay the foundation for healing, growth, and a deeper connection with the person you were always meant to become. Chapter 3. What reparenting means. Now that we've explored the wounds of an ungentle childhood, it's time to talk about what it means to reparent yourself. At first, the concept might feel strange, even uncomfortable. After all, we tend to think of parenting as something we do for others, not ourselves. But reparenting is exactly that: stepping into the role of caretaker, guide, and nurturer for the child that lives inside you. It's about giving yourself the love, safety, and validation that may have been missing in your early years. Reparenting is not about blaming anyone for the past. It's not about pointing fingers or holding resentment against those who raised you. Jung believed that the past shapes us, yes, but it does not have to define us. As he said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Reparenting is a conscious choice. It is the decision to take responsibility for your own inner care and to rewrite the relationship you have with yourself from a place of love rather than fear or neglect. To reparent yourself is to recognize that your inner child deserves attention. That little one who felt unseen, unheard, or unsafe. This part of you still exists, and it still has needs. It wants reassurance, consistency, and acceptance. It wants to know that it is enough just as it is. Many of us spend our lives seeking these things externally: approval, validation, safety, without realizing that the first place we need to offer them is within ourselves. Reparenting means becoming that source of care. This process requires both gentleness and consistency. It's not a single act, but a series of small, deliberate practices that communicate to your inner child: I am here. I am reliable. I care for you. It can take many forms: speaking kindly to yourself when you make a mistake, allowing yourself to rest without guilt, protecting your energy from situations that feel harmful, or simply listening to your own feelings without judgment. Every act of self-care, every choice that prioritizes your well-being, is a way of saying to your inner child, you matter. Reparenting also means creating structure and boundaries. Children need predictability to feel safe. If you never experienced that as a child, your inner child may feel anxious, scattered, or insecure. By establishing routines, honoring your needs, and setting clear boundaries in your life, you provide the stability that was missing before. You are teaching your inner child that the world can feel safe, and that you, as their caretaker, are trustworthy. Another important aspect of reparenting is emotional validation. The inner child needs to know that feelings are valid, that it's okay to be sad, angry, or scared. Many of us grew up in environments where emotions were dismissed, punished, or ignored. Reparenting allows you to create a new relationship with your emotions. When you feel something, instead of pushing it away or judging yourself, you pause and say, it's okay to feel this. You are safe. You are seen. This is a profound act of healing, because for many, it's the first time a feeling has been truly acknowledged and accepted. Reparenting also invites creativity, play, and curiosity into your life. Children learn and heal through exploration and expression. The inner child within you still longs for moments of joy, imagination, and wonder. Reintroducing these elements through art, music, writing, or simple playful activities allows the inner child to feel alive again. It tells them that life can be safe, enjoyable, and full of possibilities. Importantly, reparenting is not about perfection. You will not always get it right, and that's okay. The process itself, the commitment to showing up, listening, and caring, is what matters most. Even imperfect acts of love and care communicate to your inner child that you are present and trustworthy. Jung often emphasized that wholeness is a journey, not a destination. Reparenting is about consistent effort, not flawless execution. Finally, reparenting is about integration. It is about bringing the child within you into your adult life in a way that creates balance, safety, and inner harmony. When you reparent yourself, you no longer rely solely on others to meet your needs. You begin to notice patterns of self-neglect and replace them with acts of kindness and support. You begin to trust yourself, soothe yourself, and nurture yourself in ways that were previously unavailable. This integration is transformative because it reshapes the way you experience life, making it possible to move forward with confidence, self-compassion, and a deep sense of security. Reparenting yourself is not just a practice, it is a profound act of love. It is the decision to honor your own worth, to heal your inner wounds, and to create a foundation for a life guided by care and self-trust. It may feel vulnerable. It may feel strange at first, but the rewards are immense. By becoming the parent your inner child needed, you reclaim a part of yourself that has been waiting for decades. And in doing so, you take the first steps toward a life of true wholeness, freedom, and self-compassion. Chapter 4. Reparenting in 5 Practices. Now that we've explored what reparenting really means, the question becomes, how do we do it? How do we begin to nurture the part of ourselves that has been waiting for care and attention for so long? The truth is, reparenting is a series of practical, intentional acts that communicate to your inner child. I see you. I hear you. I care for you. Each act may feel small, but over time, these consistent practices build trust, safety, and a sense of self-love that can transform your life. The first practice is self-compassion. Many of us are our own harshest critics. We berate ourselves for mistakes, for shortcomings, for not being enough. Reparenting begins by speaking to yourself the way you would speak to a child you love unconditionally. When the inner child feels scared, lonely, or insecure, respond with kindness instead of judgment. Say things like, "It's okay. You are safe. You are doing your best." These words may feel strange at first, but the act of intentionally speaking to yourself with love sends a powerful message. You are worthy of care. The second practice is setting boundaries. Children who did not feel safe often learned to sacrifice their needs to protect themselves or to gain approval. As adults, this can translate into difficulty saying no, overextending ourselves, or tolerating situations that feel harmful. Reparenting teaches you to protect your energy and create clear lines that safeguard your well-being. Boundaries are not walls. They are an act of love. They tell your inner child, I see your needs, and I will honor them. Every time you enforce a boundary, you reinforce the message that your safety and feelings matter. The third practice is emotional validation. Many of us grew up being told to suppress our feelings, to be strong, or to hide our emotions to keep others comfortable. Reparenting asks you to do the opposite. Allow yourself to feel fully, without judgment. When sadness, anger, fear, or joy arises, pause and acknowledge it. Give yourself permission to experience these emotions. Journaling, reflecting, or even speaking to yourself gently can help. This validation communicates to your inner child that it is safe to express feelings and that every emotion is welcome. It reassures that you are finally seen. The fourth practice is play and creativity. As children, we heal through exploration, imagination, and fun. The inner child inside you still longs for these experiences, but adult life often leaves little space for them. Reparenting invites you to reintroduce joy and curiosity. Pick up a paintbrush, write in a journal, dance to music, or simply do something for the pure pleasure of it. These acts tell your inner child, life can be safe, joyful, and full of wonder. They help repair the parts that learned life was serious, restrictive, or unsafe. The fifth practice is safe structure. Children feel secure when their environment is predictable and supportive. If your childhood lacked that structure, you may experience anxiety or restlessness as an adult. By creating routines, maintaining consistency, and honoring your commitments to yourself, you teach your inner child that stability is possible. Morning rituals, regular meals, designated rest times, or even simple habits like planning your day intentionally communicate care and reliability. Structure is a form of self-love because it proves that you can depend on yourself. Another important practice intertwined with these is gentle self-reflection. Reparenting is not blind self-indulgence. It requires awareness. Notice your reactions, your patterns, your triggers, and your recurring thoughts. Ask yourself, which of these come from fear, unmet needs, or old wounds? When you observe yourself without judgment, you create a safe inner space where growth can happen. This reflection is like checking in with your inner child daily and asking, how are you feeling? And what do you need right now? The final thread running through all these practices is consistency. Reparenting is not a one-time fix. It is a lifelong commitment to showing up for yourself in ways you never were shown. Some days will be easier than others. Sometimes the inner critic will be loud. Sometimes progress feels slow. But the repeated acts of care, boundaries, validation, play, and structure accumulate. Over time, they reshape your inner world, creating a foundation of trust, safety, and self-compassion that supports every aspect of your life. Reparenting yourself through these practices is not indulgent or selfish. It is essential. It is the act of reclaiming the care and attention that was missing, and in doing so, building a life where you feel safe, loved, and whole from the inside out. Each moment you practice self-compassion, enforce a boundary, honor your emotions, play, or maintain structure, you are telling your inner child, I am here. You are safe. You are loved. And slowly, over time, that child learns to trust, relax, and flourish within you. Chapter 5. Shadow Work and Acceptance. As we continue on the journey of reparenting ourselves, there is an important, sometimes challenging step that cannot be skipped: facing the shadow. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow to describe the parts of ourselves that we hide, reject, or deny. The feelings, impulses, and traits we consider unacceptable or unlovable. These aspects often come from early experiences, from times when we felt unsafe, judged, or abandoned. They are not bad parts of you. They are simply parts that have been pushed into the background because they were too painful, too vulnerable, or too misunderstood. Shadow work is the practice of turning toward these hidden parts of ourselves with curiosity, compassion, and honesty. It requires courage because the shadow is often uncomfortable to face. It may appear as anger, jealousy, shame, fear, or self-doubt. Sometimes it shows up as patterns we can't seem to break, repeated mistakes, or feelings we can't explain. Yet, these expressions are not failures. They are messages from the unconscious, signals that parts of ourselves are asking to be seen, accepted, and integrated. Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Shadow work is the process of making that darkness conscious. To begin shadow work, you first need to observe yourself without judgment. Notice when old reactions arise. When you feel triggered, ask yourself, what is this revealing about me? Which part of me is afraid, angry, or hurt right now? Often, what we perceive as flaws or weaknesses are actually parts of the inner child that were never fully nurtured. Perhaps it is the part of you that feels unworthy, the part that desperately seeks approval, or the part that has been carrying guilt or shame for decades. These are the very aspects that need your attention. Shadow work also involves acknowledging your past without letting it define you. The wounds of childhood, neglect, or emotional invalidation are real, and their effects linger. But they do not determine your present or your future. By exploring your shadow, you are reclaiming the parts of yourself that were left behind, silenced, or rejected. You are saying to your inner child, "I see you, I hear you, and I will not abandon you again." Integration is the ultimate goal of shadow work. Integration does not mean trying to eliminate difficult emotions or traits. It means embracing them as parts of your whole self. When you integrate the shadow, anger can become assertiveness, fear can become discernment, and shame can become humility or empathy. The energy that once felt heavy or destructive transforms into strength, creativity, and self-awareness. Reparenting yourself and shadow work go hand in hand. As you nurture your inner child, you also embrace the shadow, allowing your whole self to feel seen, safe, and loved. One practical approach to shadow work is reflection and journaling. When you notice recurring patterns or intense emotions, write to your inner child about what is emerging. Ask yourself, which parts of me are trying to be heard? What feelings have I been ignoring or judging? Respond to these discoveries with compassion and understanding. Another approach is conscious observation in daily life. Notice the judgments you make about yourself or others, the moments when you feel triggered, or the traits you wish you could change. These are often reflections of the shadow asking for acknowledgement. Shadow work is not linear. It is often uncomfortable, sometimes painful, but always transformative. Each time you face a part of your shadow and respond with love, you teach your inner child that it is safe to exist fully, even with flaws and vulnerabilities. Over time, this process reduces inner conflict, decreases self-criticism, and strengthens your capacity for self-compassion. You begin to feel whole, not because the past disappears, but because all parts of you are finally recognized and cared for. Ultimately, shadow work is about reclaiming your power. It is about understanding that the parts of yourself you once rejected or feared are not enemies. They are teachers. They are guides, pointing you toward the areas where your inner child needs reassurance, protection, and love. As Jung reminded us, embracing the shadow is essential to wholeness. It is the only way to truly awaken to yourself, to live authentically, and to cultivate a life grounded in self-awareness and self-compassion. So as you continue your reparenting journey, remember that shadow work is not separate from nurturing your inner child. It is a vital extension of it. By turning toward the hidden, uncomfortable, or dark parts of yourself, you are offering the same care and acceptance to the entirety of your being. And in doing so, you create the possibility of a life where every part of you feels seen, safe, and loved. Chapter 6. The 7 Signs. You're reparenting successfully. As you continue the journey of reparenting yourself, you might wonder how you'll know if it's actually working. Healing is not always obvious at first, because it unfolds quietly, in small shifts that gradually transform the way you experience yourself and the world. Yet there are clear signs that your inner child is beginning to feel seen, heard, and cared for, and that your efforts at reparenting are taking root. The first sign is a shift in how you treat yourself. You may notice that the inner critic, the voice that once scolded or belittled you, is less harsh. Instead of jumping to blame or shame, you pause and respond with kindness, patience, and understanding. You start to speak to yourself in ways that feel nurturing and supportive. Mistakes are no longer devastating. They are opportunities to practice compassion and encouragement. This is one of the most profound indicators that your inner child is feeling safe and cared for. Another sign is increased self-trust. When you reparent yourself, you begin to rely on your own judgment and intuition rather than constantly seeking external validation. You start to make decisions that honor your needs and values, and you no longer feel guilty for prioritizing your well-being. This trust may start small, like choosing to rest when you're tired, and grow into bigger acts of self-reliance. Each choice builds a foundation of security for your inner child, proving that you are dependable and present. A third sign is the ability to soothe yourself during difficult moments. Life inevitably brings challenges, stress, and emotional upheaval. But as you practice reparenting, you become more capable of calming and comforting yourself. You no longer rely solely on others to manage your distress. Instead, you can pause, breathe, and offer words of reassurance or take actions that create safety and stability. Your inner child learns that you are available, and this sense of internal support dramatically reduces anxiety and fear. You may also notice greater emotional awareness and acceptance. Reparenting encourages you to validate your feelings rather than suppress them. As a result, you become more comfortable recognizing and naming emotions without judgment. You allow yourself to feel sadness, joy, fear, or anger fully, knowing that these feelings are valid and temporary. Your inner child senses that their emotions are acknowledged, which fosters resilience and a sense of belonging within yourself. Another important sign is the ability to set and maintain boundaries. As you care for yourself, you naturally start protecting your energy, time, and well-being. You may notice that you are less willing to tolerate situations that feel harmful or draining. You begin to recognize when something doesn't serve you and take action to safeguard your inner space. This is a powerful signal that your inner child feels respected and safe, and that you are truly stepping into the role of caregiver for yourself. Joy, curiosity, and playfulness are also key indicators. As the inner child begins to feel safe and nurtured, the natural desire to explore, imagine, and enjoy life resurfaces. You may notice yourself taking time to engage in creative activities, pursuing hobbies, or simply experiencing wonder in everyday moments. These are not trivial or indulgent behaviors. They are signs that your inner child is thriving. Playfulness indicates that the safety and love you are providing yourself are reaching deep into your psyche, restoring balance and vitality. Finally, a sense of wholeness and integration emerges. You may notice fewer internal conflicts, less self-sabotage, and a growing ability to accept all parts of yourself, including those that were once hidden or rejected. This is the culmination of consistent reparenting. Your inner child feels safe, your shadow feels acknowledged, and your adult self is capable of holding both with compassion and stability. You begin to live more authentically, with the freedom to experience life fully, rather than being constrained by unresolved wounds or unmet needs. It's important to remember that these signs don't appear overnight. Reparenting is a lifelong process, and progress may be gradual. There will be days when the inner critic is loud, when old patterns resurface, or when emotions feel overwhelming. This does not mean you are failing. In fact, these moments are opportunities to return to your inner child with care and patience, reinforcing the lessons of trust, safety, and love. The beauty of these signs is that they reflect real, tangible change in your relationship with yourself. They show that your inner child is finally being nurtured, that your shadow is being integrated, and that the cycle of unmet needs from your past is slowly being transformed. With patience, persistence, and compassion, you begin to feel alive in ways that were previously blocked. You begin to experience life as a person who can comfort themselves, trust themselves, and love themselves fully. In short, the signs of successful reparenting are subtle, steady, and profound. They show up as gentleness with yourself, trust in your decisions, the ability to soothe and validate your feelings, the courage to set boundaries, the return of joy and play, and a growing sense of wholeness. Each day that you practice care and compassion is a day your inner child feels seen and loved. And over time, these small acts accumulate, creating a life where you are finally free to thrive from the inside out. Chapter 7. The Power of Affirmations and Self-Talk. One of the most subtle, yet transformative tools in reparenting yourself is the way you speak to yourself, your self-talk. The inner voice you hear every day shapes your sense of worth, your confidence, and your ability to feel safe and loved. For many of us, that voice is harsh, critical, or dismissive, echoing the voices, or lack of voices, from our childhood. But here's the beautiful truth. That voice can change. You have the power to reshape it, and through consistent practice, you can create an inner dialogue that nurtures and supports your inner child. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This applies perfectly to self-talk. Many of the negative patterns in our thinking are unconscious. We repeat them without realizing the harm they do. Words carry energy. They influence how you feel, how you act, and even how you interpret the world. Every time you respond to yourself with criticism or judgment, you reinforce the wounds from your past. But every time you respond with compassion, encouragement, or understanding, you are sending a healing message directly to the parts of yourself that need it most. Affirmations are one of the simplest yet most effective tools for transforming self-talk. They are intentional statements that communicate love, safety, and acceptance. For example, saying to yourself, "I am safe. I am enough. I love and care for myself," may feel strange at first, especially if your inner critic is loud. But repetition is powerful. Over time, affirmations reshape your internal dialogue and begin to overwrite the negative scripts that may have been running since childhood. The key to effective affirmations is that they are both specific and present-focused. Instead of saying, "I will someday be okay," say, "I am okay now." Instead of, "I will try to love myself," say, "I love and care for myself today." The present tense tells your inner child that safety, love, and acceptance are not distant goals. They are available here and now. Consistency is critical. Practicing affirmations daily, even for a few minutes, signals to your inner child that you are reliable, steady, and present. Self-talk goes beyond formal affirmations. It's the ongoing conversation you have with yourself in your mind. It's how you respond to mistakes, setbacks, or challenging emotions. Reparenting yourself involves noticing this inner voice and intentionally steering it toward kindness. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't handle this," or "I'm not good enough," pause and respond with care. You might say, "It's okay to feel this. I am here for you. I can handle this step by step." This act is a direct message to the inner child. You are not alone, and you are seen. Visualization can enhance affirmations and self-talk even further. Close your eyes and imagine your inner child sitting before you. Speak to them directly, using gentle, loving words. Tell them, "You are safe. You are loved. You are enough, just as you are." Notice how your body responds. Your breath may slow, your shoulders relax, and a sense of warmth may spread. This is your inner child receiving the care it has longed for. Over time, these visualizations train your mind to internalize the support, making the inner dialogue naturally more compassionate. It's also helpful to tailor affirmations to the specific needs of your inner child. If your inner child felt unseen, you might affirm, "I see you. You matter." If they felt unloved, you might say, "You are deeply loved and cherished." If they felt unsafe, affirm, "I am here, and I will protect and care for you." The more specific and emotionally resonant the affirmations are, the more powerfully they heal. The beauty of affirmations and self-talk is that they are always accessible. You can practice them anywhere, while brushing your teeth, walking, or preparing for the day. They are your constant companion, your way of being a nurturing parent to yourself, even in moments when life feels overwhelming. Each act of speaking kindly to yourself is a brick in the foundation of trust, safety, and self-love. Finally, remember that this process is gradual. At first, affirmations may feel awkward or artificial. Your inner critic may scoff or resist. This is normal. Keep practicing. The repetition is the healing. Over time, these statements become internalized, shaping a voice within you that consistently nurtures, comforts, and reassures your inner child. This transformed inner dialogue is a cornerstone of reparenting. It creates a mindscape where safety, love, and acceptance are always available, and your inner child can finally rest, knowing it is truly cared for. Remember, the work of reparenting is not indulgent or selfish. It is essential. By caring for yourself, you create a life where your inner child can finally rest, where the wounds of the past are met with compassion, and where your adult self can move through the world with confidence, trust, and authenticity. You are giving yourself what you have always deserved: the love, acceptance, and protection that may have been missing in your earliest years. Take a deep breath. Imagine your inner child sitting safely beside you, finally feeling seen, heard, and cherished. That is not a distant dream. It is a possibility you can create with every choice you make to care for yourself. Over time, those choices accumulate, transforming your relationship with yourself and, by extension, the world around you. So, as you move forward, keep returning to these practices. And remember that you are worthy of every ounce of love and care you offer yourself. I hope this video was helpful. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences. Thanks for watching.